The UPA government, as you know, believes that rapid and broad-based economic growth is essential. In fact, is an essential condition for inclusive development. Since 2004-05, our economy has enjoyed an unprecedented growth rate of around 8.5%, despite the severe global crises that have impacted the global economy. Yet, despite the crises, we are committed to deliver our promise to the people of India, and we wish to move rapidly into the ranks of the middle-income countries, free of the burden of poverty, ignorance, and disease that has held us back for too long. At the heart of economic growth is the ability of nations and people to innovate. We have, in the path of economic growth, missed some revolutions. But I believe that in the 21st century, if there is one revolution that will change the way India thinks, change the way India works, and change the way India interacts with each other, is the communications revolution. Just as physical infrastructure is exceptionally important for the movement of goods, the virtual infrastructure through the communications network is equally important, for the simple reason that distance and time in fact get narrowed, and instant communication is a great source of empowerment. It is with this in mind that the UPA government has been emphasizing the importance of telecommunications and information technology as an essential factor in the growth story of India. India has demonstrated enormous strides in telecom, and I don't think there is any other country in the world where the tariffs for ordinary people are as low as they are in India. And the penetration of telephony in India is moving forward at enormous stride. We have almost 1 billion mobile phones in India. Almost 1 billion mobile phones in India. And yet we believe that much more needs to be done. We believe that apart from wireless, broadband wireless connectivity, we need to lay the fiber optic network in this country, because that will be the backbone for the communications revolution, which in turn will be essential for the fast-paced economic growth that we are looking at. We intend to lay the fiber optic network in this country, connect 250,000 gram panchayats, hopefully by December 2013. The last mile connectivity then can be done through wireless broadband. This will allow data to flow at enormous speeds. data which will be used for education, data which will be used for medicine, e-education, e-commerce, G2C, data that will provide public services, data that will provide information to the Aam Aadmi, to the Kisan, the agriculturalist, to the trader, to the panchayat, and that in turn will help empower people. With that backbone laid, we believe that public services can be delivered much quicker than in the past, and indeed one of the ways to deal with corruption is to ensure that public services are delivered through the fiber optic network. You want to get a passport, you can apply online, have the passport delivered to you. After your application is analyzed online, and then have it delivered through the post office, network of the post office, which is also part of the Department of Posts, which also is now being electronically, that architecture of electronic delivery system is being created. There is a legislation that is going to be brought to the cabinet very soon on the public services delivery bill, in terms of which we will request each state government to tell us areas in which public services can be delivered electronically. And whichever areas are identified by that particular state government, the commitment should be that those will be electronically delivered in a maximum period of 5 years. Payment of your electricity bills, payment of your water charges, data about revenue records, data about agriculture, data with reference to urban agglomerations. All that can be delivered to you, or will be delivered to you electronically by virtue of that legislation. Of course, this is voluntary. We would want those state governments to tell us in which services they would like delivery to take place within that period of time. So if these public services are delivered electronically, a lot of the harassment that has been faced by the Aam Aadmi will vanish, and it will be exceptionally empowering. If supposing a bank transaction by somebody living in a village can be conducted electronically through the mobile phone, and bank balances can be checked and deposits and withdrawals can be made with the appropriate ATM machines located in those areas, you can imagine the enormous empowerment that is likely to happen in that process. This is the vision of this government, and it is not something that is at the stage of a drawing board on the table for a plan to be executed. It is being executed. That's what's important. As you are aware, since 2010, when I took over this, I was asked to take care of this ministry. We decided that it is time for us to delineate the contours for the next 20 years of policy which deal with telecommunications, with information technology, with electronic systems and design manufacturing. And we have brought before you two of the policies already. That is the telecom policy as well as the IT policy. The electronics, systems and design manufacture, almost all the elements of that policy are also complete, barring one. For that, we are probably going to the cabinet. We are going to the cabinet. It will probably come up in the next 2 weeks. So when that element is complete, our electronic systems, designs, manufacturing policy will also be for the next 20 years before you. What is our objective? Our objective is the following. We believe that unless we are able to encourage manufacturing activity in India of electronic products, the extent of import required by 2020 will be to the order of 300 billion, because the demand at that time would be 400 billion. We believe that 100 billion is likely to be manufactured in India, and if there is no change of policy, we will have to import $300 billion worth of electronic products. This is more than the import of crude oil in India. Naturally, no economy can sustain these kind of costs. Therefore, it is with this in mind that we have put in place the electronic systems design manufacture, in which we have set out electronic clusters which are to be built, policies in terms of which that all manufacturing activity in India in electronic goods should have a value addition of 65%. 80% of that product must be manufactured in India by 2020. So that this in turn will give an impetus to employment. Ultimately, no country can achieve prosperity unless it generates employment. The UPA is committed to generate employment for the Aam Aadmi. This requires, therefore, emphasizing and empowering domestic manufacturing activity. And our policy caters towards that. For example, the mobile phone. At the moment, a very small percentage of the mobile phone is manufactured in India in terms of value. Now, we believe that in the next 10 years or so, 80% of that must be manufactured here. And the essential element of that is the chip. 30% of the value of the mobile phone is the chip. We are now in the process of setting up a fab in India so that chips can be made in India. And we would like to amalgamate the enormous strength of software in India with hardware. So once we have our software design capacities and abilities, which are next to none in the world, we are perhaps foremost in the world in software design. Once we use that power with a chip which is manufactured in India, we can be leaders in the world of chips which will go into every product. We can develop, and that in turn will generate enormous employment, enormous skill development, our ability to manufacture at home and not import, therefore reduce the costs of import, and at the same time give us an opportunity to manufacture products that we can export at a far better competitive price than others manufacturing these products in Europe and in the Western world. So this is a holistic vision that we have which impacts the sector and which will in fact contribute enormously to economic growth in India. As you know, on the telecom side, I have already announced the policy, National Telecom Policy of 2012, the essential elements of which are full mobile number portability, I have already said that you will have one nation, free roaming. That will happen in 2013. We will have 100% rural teledensity by 2020. And from the numbers that I know of, the people using broadband by 2020 would be, we think, 600 million at least, but that figure probably will be reached by 2017 or so, because the way in which broadband activity is increasing gives us the belief that this can happen much quicker. Increase in use of broadband has secondary and tertiary positive impacts on empowerment, on growth, and on many other things. On-demand broadband of at least 100 Mbps. This is also part of our policy. One license across services and service areas. We're already implementing it. Now the new auction that is going to take place, those who win in the auction will be given a unified license. Technology neutral. You can use any technology with that unified license. This will be liberalized spectrum. Sharing will be allowed, but liberalized spectrum. Mergers will be allowed. The market share can be much more than it was before. You can hold up to 25% of the market share plus more, as long as other authorities clear you for antitrust activities, anti-competitive measures. So you can actually have more than 50% of the market. The amount of spectrum that you can hold is also enormous. Now, those limitations have gone. So, in other words, there'll be far greater efficiency and productivity in the delivery of services as we move forward. What we want to do is to reposition the mobile phone as an instrument of empowerment. The Akash, which now I have delivered to all my cabinet colleagues, is something that is at the heart of this strategy. The Akash is going to be an instrument of empowerment as well. The latest version of Akash 2 has a 1 gigahertz processor, a 4-hour battery lifeline, capacitive screen, Android 4, I believe.
Android 4.
Android 4. All this is part of the Akash. And hopefully on the 11th of November, you will see the President talking to 20,000 students across the nation who will in their hands have the Akash. The Akash will be an instrument through which children can go to school without carrying their textbooks. Children will have access to the internet through the Akash. And hopefully, as we bring down the price of the Akash by setting up manufacturing activities in India, it will come down to $35, which is 1,500 rupees, being the cost price. These are the enormous strides that we are taking. We're also looking at safety of individuals in the context of electromagnetic radiation. And we have recently taken very decisive steps to reduce levels of electromagnetic radiation, both in mobile phones as well as towers. And that, of course, has now been welcomed by the industry as well. By encouraging manufacturing activity in the electronics manufacturing sector, we will have created by 2020 28 million jobs. 28 million jobs. There will be a turnover of around 55 billion in chip design and embedded software. That will be the turnover of the industry as we calculate it. And we will be setting up 200 manufacturing hubs, electronics manufacturing hubs. And we will be producing per annum 2,500 PhDs. We are working with educational institutions, with research institutions to take this vision forward. We also have a GIS mission which we are going to take forward, that is part of the e-governance. National GIS should be part of e-governance. We're working with various ministries to be able to do that. So lots of steps that we are taking in this regard. We want to, of course, make our postal department exceptionally modern. As you know, that people stop writing letters. So the post office needs to change and make a paradigm shift into new areas of services. So we are trying to, all post offices should be electronically empowered so that all systems, if you have a parcel which is to go from one place to another, and we have that facility even today, then you can track the parcel, where it is, where it's going, when will it reach. I just opened a sorting center where all mails are automatically sorted. So you can get your delivery systems will be much quicker. All these are processes which will generate efficiency. You will be able to sell your wares by making the post office as a central place where in any rural area, if you want to sell your wares, the post office will give you a platform through which others can access those wares and actually buy them. So lots of things are happening across the board, but the reason why I emphasize the virtual world and data flow through the virtual world and empowerment through the virtual world, because this brings in an element of efficiency which the physical world cannot provide to people. What will take days will take a few seconds. And the Human Resource Development Ministry is working very closely with the Communications and Information Technology Ministry. And we're trying to build human resource in many of these sectors. Of course, we have to be exceptionally careful because we are very serious issues about cyber security. And so we need also to build a workforce to take care of cyber security. So that element is also being taken care of. This, in a nutshell, is what we've been doing. And we believe that all these efforts will exponentially increase economic growth in our country. And this is the only way to reach double-digit growth. And we hope that in the years to come, that will happen. Thank you very much.